And we're back on RNN News. Today we will be discussing our upcoming election, our most significant election yet.
Yes, it is the first time in history we have two parties, the Federalists and Democratic Republicans, going against each other for a chance at the presidency.
Yes, some may even call this a revolutionary election. On the Democratic Republican side, we have renowned Thomas Jefferson, the father of our very own Declaration of Independence. This man is prestigious and classy, born in our very own Virginia, yet he has a sense of compassion and sympathy for all the classes of our nations, even the farmers, laborers, artisans, and small shopkeepers. This man always has the equality and rights of people in mind, and ensures that the leading branch of the economy, agriculture, should be one of the most important.
And on the other side, representing the Federalists, we have a familiar face running for the president, Mr. John Adams. Now, there's a lot to be said about Mr. John Adams. For one, he isn't even liked by his own party. Recently, Hamilton, Federalist himself, published in a private newspaper, which we eventually got hold of, words that attack John Adams. I mean, if his own party doesn't support him and conspires against him, how does Adams even expect to run for another term and win the favor of the Jeffersonians?
Yes, and even more than that, who isn't tired of John Adams and honestly fearful of a second term of his presidency? For one, John Adams is an incredibly arrogant man and such a stubborn president. During his days in office, he didn't appeal to the masses, and he didn't even have a desire to seem likable to his citizens. Is that the personality trait someone wants in a president? I don't know about you, Ksenia, but I don't want our country to be run by someone who's so easily dislikable.
More than that, during John Adams' term as a president, our country was nearly falling apart. The most despicable thing he did was to actually allow and enforce the Alien and Sedition Acts, the most despised laws among our country that violated the document we treasured the most, the Constitution. These acts clearly violated our First Amendment right to free speech and free press. But Mr. John Adams allowed it to be enforced anyway. What kind of president was he? He didn't even care for the treasured rights that are guaranteed to us. He's clearly leading us in the path of the great dictatorship again. Voting for him would be like asking for another King George III.
Yes, Adams was clearly corrupt for power during his time in office. For one, he tried to decrease the powers of the Jeffersonians through the Alien Acts, which made it harder for European immigrants to become citizens by increasing the residential requirements from 5 to 14 years. Clearly, he was trying to reduce the number of voters and support on the Jeffersonian side, to increase the power of the Federalists. Do you really want this corrupt man to be your president again? Even more, in the Sedition Acts, his thirst for power can clearly be seen as he restricted us, the citizens, to say anything wrong about him that could affect his power. He literally threw a poor citizen in jail for speaking about Adams' rotundity. If he was really so insecure about being fat, he should just lose a few pounds instead of acting out on poor men.
Exactly, and if you think that was bad about his presidency, just wait, because there's more. John Adams completely wasted all of our money on giving away bribes to Barbary pirates. Yes, you heard that right. At all this time when citizens were singing millions for defense but not 1 cent for tribute, Mr. John Adams was actually giving tribute to the Barbary pirates. He ultimately betrayed our nation and ruined our national honor by succumbing to these pirates. Even after Thomas Jefferson urged Congress and him to declare war on these pirates, he failed to take any action. He just gave it into them, and now 1/4 of our national debt can be credited to these pirates' bribes. Thanks, John.
John Adams as a president is equivalent to the Black Death because of all the harm that he's caused. Why would a president prepare for a war that he's not even going to take part in? John Adams' war preparations for the war with France swelled the public debt greatly and prepped our army with so much training, and then he finally makes a decision not to go to war. And even worse, because of all this preparation, he was forced to enforce hated taxes on us citizens for no reason. This is insanity. We need a decisive president who makes sensible decisions for the country.
That's right, Nurture. Why swell up our national debt for no reason? He has already wasted it with all the bribes he seemed to be supporting. Now, is a considerable president really going to agonize the nation for no reason? John Adams is a lethargic man with no interest in advancing his country. We don't need a president to ruin an innocent and fresh nation.
And do you remember how he defended the murderous Redcoats after the Boston Massacre? He betrayed our fellow countrymen for British. He's an Anglophile by nature. Have you seen his economic policies? Is this really a man you want to be in control of our country for the next 4 years? A Britain lover and a traitor?
That was exactly what I was thinking, Nerjo. Mr. Adams cannot be trusted to lead this country for 4 more years. If he gets elected again, it is the only matter of time before he sells our country out to the British. Remember this before voting on this election day.
Anyways, that's all we have for this segment. I hope you all are able to get an understanding for who these candidates are and have a clear position on who you should vote for.
That's right. Now, we've just told you all the facts, so it's up to you to decide. Are you going to vote for a corrupt and stubborn monster who violated our precious God-given rights in the Constitution, or are you going to vote for a man who actually cares for equality and the good of all to run our nation?
We hope you make the correct decision on who will be the future leader of our nation in the polls. An aristocratic monster or a man who cares for us common folk? Keep watching for our next segment featuring citizens who have been personally attacked by the Sedition Act.